Tonight at the CHAZAQ Network, we have a very good friend of mine, a world-renowned lecturer and orator, a man that's so inspiring, a man that we all look up as a role model, and we always ask ourselves, what's he taking or what's he eating? How much energy does he have? So inspiring and motivational. The one and only, the powerful Charlie Harary. Charlie, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's an honor to be part of the show. Thank you
beautiful.
so much.
Thank you very much. So Charlie, everyone's asking the famous question, you're not a rabbi. I shouldn't say regular Joe Schmo, but you're like everyone else. You have that beard, and you know, you're cool, you don't have the tie and everything, but you're out there, you're inspiring thousands of people, and you're giving people chizuk, inspiration. How did it all start? You're a lawyer, no?
Yeah, well, I started off as a lawyer. I'm in business now, but you know, it's funny because it started when I was in college. I was looking to get more involved. I had gotten involved in an organization called CHAZAQ.
Of course.
And it's an unbelievable place. And after you go to a summer like CHAZAQ, it's hard to get back into your life. Like, you just spend the summer doing all this amazing stuff.
Camp CHAZAQ, right?
Camp CHAZAQ.
Yeah.
Like, what do you go back to, like, you know, becoming a student? So I tried to find something to get involved in, and somehow I ended up on a bus to Cleveland for an organization called CHAZAQ.
Of course.
So it's and like, as a Brooklyn boy, like, you know, I thought Cleveland was like right after the belt. I thought we were like, you know, Monticello than Cleveland. I had no idea like there were Jews in Cleveland. Like,
yeah.
you know, for me it was like no way. So I ended up in Cleveland, and you know, as a kid who grew up, you know, with the Jewish education and went to yeshiva and everything.
Where did you go?
I grew up in Brooklyn. I went to yeshiva Flatbush.
Uh-huh.
It was all, you know, I never, I guess when you're taking, so to speak, you never sort of, it's harder to find the passion for it. But when you go to like an outreach organization and you see that everyone's trying to get, you know, these kids to become more connected to Judaism, it's like, oh my gosh, like you're involved in something. You're like, this is amazing. I never saw it that way, never heard it that way. It never was presented that way. So I was in my last year of college, and after like 3 or 4 Shabbatons, everyone sort of graduated out. Like you get a life, you know, you get married, you go to school. And I didn't want to leave, so I wanted to stay. Yeah. So I got married that year, and I went to the head guy, and I said, listen, like, do guys come back married? He's like, well, not really, but if you want to, you can. I'm like, okay. So I got married, went to law school, you know, became a lawyer, and for the next 10 years, kept on coming back to those Shabbatonim in Pittsburgh and Columbus and Cleveland and Detroit. And what happens when you're the oldest guy in the room is, you know, you can't sleep with the kids, right? Because, you know, you got a wife. So, like, what do they do with you? So you can't just come for no reason. So they like, okay, do you want to speak? I'm like, all right, I'll try. Like, that's cool. So you get up there, and then, you know, you do it again. And then it's a high school Shabbaton. So it's not like, you know, it's not like a CHAZAQ event. You where, like, you know, there's 2,000 people in the room. I mean, it's wonderful, but, like, you know, you got 100 kids here, 100 kids there. And I slowly started to, you know, speak more and more and more. And then I'll never forget, I went to one individual, I'm not going to, you know, say who it was, but this individual was involved in the Jewish community. And I said to him, you know, I really, you know, want to speak one day. And he said to me, like, well, I thought you were going to be a lawyer. So I said, yeah. He goes, well, how about this? Why don't you go make a lot of money, and you'll give us the money so we can speak. So I said, okay, but you know, I'd like to, you know, I look up to guys like you. I'd like to speak too. He goes, well, you're a rabbi? I said, no. He goes, well, why don't you go make a lot of money, and you'll give money to us to speak. And I said, okay, but I want to speak. And then he goes, well, you're a rabbi? I'm like, okay, I see where we're going over here. And it was like a world in which, like, if you're either you're a rabbi and you speak, or you're a balabas and you make money. Like,
and you give the money to them for
there's no, like, what? Why can't there be a third way? So Hashem's awesome. Nice. So like everything in life, you just, you know, if he wants you to do something, he's gonna open up a door. So I'll never forget, I was in the law firm, and I was, you know, going to work every day, and then I, you know, going to Starbucks to speak to 10 kids, and then on the weekends getting on a plane and going here, and vacation times as opposed to my family going to wherever we went to Shabbaton. Right. So we did that for many years, and then we knocked on a lot of doors of organizations, but in the beginning, no one was really interested. Right. No one, you know, you show, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, no credentials. You don't look like a speaker. You don't look, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing here? But, you know, God runs the world. And the fun part about God running the world is that, you know, he runs the world, so stuff can happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Chashmonim could be, you know, Greeks, and we can have Israel, and then, you know, small little Charlie Harary could get a chance with Hashem's help, all from him, all from Hashem, to say a few words. And then And that's how it works. And then, you know,
You had a want. You had a, you know, you felt that you could give something over, and that's the drive.
yeah, it's you know, the truth is, like, I never feel like I have anything to say. That's really the truth. I mean, to be honest, like, it's mamish or Hashem. Like, I don't have any, like, there's nothing really inside. That's really the truth. It's if Hashem puts it in, it's like a faucet. If he turns it on, like, you can have a faucet, and the faucet can look the way it looks, and you can expect that water is going to come out, but it really won't unless it's hooked up to the source. And the biggest fear that I always have is that
you're gonna go up there and you know,
and even when I get up there, as I woke up, I'm not kidding. As I woke up, I'm like, okay, we both know there's nothing happening here, but they don't know that. So can you do me a favor one more time, Dad, and like hook me up? Like that's our conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not even any more sophisticated than that. It's not even like
I never knew that about him. I thought he's prepared. He has a whole thing.
I prepare like crazy. I prepare like nuts. That before I get up to speak, people think like I am prepared. This, you know, when I mean, I don't believe that anybody that's a speaker doesn't prepare. In fact, I think that any good speaker that's out there, any good person that's out there, is preparing. And if they're not preparing, it's in their brain. Like, it's how they think. Like, you know, when you go to the best speakers out there and you watch them, I believe that when they hear a story or they read something on Shabbos, their brain is like,
how do I get this over?
Exactly. It's right away. They're always on it.
Everything they do, they're like, okay, this is a good story. This is a good habit.
Exactly. They're not like sitting there like, oh my God, I got to speak tonight at an event. What should I do? It's like everywhere they go, everything they say.
They live and breathe the speech.
That I'm convinced of. You can't believe, and people don't, I mean, you don't believe, you know, how many times, like, my kids, the joke in my house is that, you know, Daddy talks to himself, but he's not crazy. Like, and because that's what I do. Many times
prepare your speech.
I prepare and I talk. So many times I'll go into like a dark room and I'll just pace and pace and talk and talk. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then pace and talk. And then like I'll hear my like younger kids like stand by like the threshold and be like, oh my gosh, is Daddy okay? And my older kids tell my younger kids, no, he's fine. He's
prepared for it.
Exactly. It's not a disorder. This is what he does. Like, Daddy talks to himself, but he's not, that's the line in my house. While Daddy talks to himself, he's not crazy. Or I'll be walking in the street sometimes, and it's embarrassing, but you know, like it happened to me yesterday. I had an event last night, so like, I was preparing, so I got out of Penn Station, and I had to walk to Lexington Avenue, and the block down 34th Street, I was preparing, and I was talking to myself. And like one of my students sees me, and he's like, I was going to teach in YU. He's like, Professor, I'm like, and like I hit me that like he's watching me walk down the street, probably half a block, like mumbling and talking.
Charlie, I have good advice for you. Just put it on
Bluetooth. Exactly, totally. I gotta get a Bluetooth in my ear, just so that people think I'm talking to the Bluetooth. That's the move. Nice. Yeah. So you know, the truth is like, and this is I tell people all the time, like. And honestly, you know, I look up to so many people that are speakers, like Rabbi Krohn, and all. I mean, I look up to them so much, and you know, and I speak to them sometimes, and like, you see some of the people that are out there, and like, or some of the major Gadol, like, they're really holy people, and they really are, you know. But for the Balabat, and there are Balabatim that are holy, but for the guys like me, like the regular people, like, the biggest, I think, discouragement is that people think that like you have to reach a certain threshold before you share something. And one of my rebbeim in life was Rav Noach Weinberg. You know, I was zocheh. He's and I was zocheh to spend 6 hours with him. You know, about a year before he passed away. And
6 straight hours, or
it was 2 hours a day for 3 straight days. I just got involved.
How did you get to do that?
It was like awesome. I just got involved in speaking for Aish. It was just you know, it wasn't that long ago. And as I was talking for them a little bit more and volunteering in the beginning, one of the guys in H said to me, listen, Rav Noach comes a lot to New York. What if I, you know, as a way to welcome you in, get you 6 hours? And I'm thinking like, Rav Noach Weinberg? I'm thinking there's a Rav Noach Goldberg, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he goes, Rav Noach, like these? Like, yeah. So I remember I sat in his office for 6 hours.
That's amazing.
And it blew me away, changed my life. And one of the things that I got from him in those 6 hours was, there's no waiting. There's no waiting. You know, like, if you have something to share it.
Do it.
If you do it from a place where you want something from it, then you got to be careful. But if you really are trying to share something, and let the crowd decide. Like, you know, people are smart. People will be able to distinguish whether or not you're prepared or you know what you're saying. Like, if it's coming from a place where you want to share something, then don't wait, because there's never going to be the right time. 10 years will be 15 years, and it'll never, that's one of the challenges of, law is a great career, and it's a great profession, and it's got a lot of good for it, but it's got a lot of challenges, and one of the challenges of being a lawyer is this need to be perfect. And I remember my first week in the law firm when they were training you, and I'll never forget, I got to the training room and they said, proofread, on the board was a slogan, proofread until your eyes bleed.
Oh.
Like, don't just, before you send out an email or a document, you got to read it 100 times.
Make sure it's perfect.
It's perfect. And there's a lot of good, but there's a lot of problems with that, in that if everything needs to be perfect, you never get anything out.
Right. Nothing ever gets done.
One of the things that I think is part of this culture today, at least from the economic perspective, like a guy like Steve Jobs, for example, like Apple, if you think about what they do, is it's amazing. Apple puts out a phone and says, all right, guys, there's going to be a better phone in a year from now, but you're not going to want to miss this phone. No, you're sure that, by the way, in 3 months, there's an update and a new phone. Nobody buys Apple and go, I'm good for my life. I bought it. Nobody.
You get to 5, you have to get to 6.
And you know it's coming. Right? And you know what they do is that they put it out, and then everybody gives them feedback, and then they take that feedback and make it another better. Oh. And then they keep on selling it to you because they get that, like, it's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be valuable.
That is an amazing lesson, just by the way. I'm saying for me, one that publishes things and organizes things in here and there, everybody tells you have to be perfect, you have to do, and I'm thinking to myself, if I have to make everything perfect, I can't do anything.
Exactly. Yeah. And perfection really belongs to the Roma Shalom. Oh. Like, to think that any human could achieve perfection is a little bit beyond us. Like, perfection? Like, what? Only the Kadosh Baruch Hu is perfect. We are all fallible. We make mistakes, we mess up, we miss words, we say things that are wrong, we promise things that we ultimately can't keep. But it's not about perfect. I almost never find. Have you ever seen a place in Yiddishkeit where they say, well, if you want to be a perfect davener, do this? It doesn't work that way. It's that just daven every day. Like, if you look at Yiddishkeit, you never get to a place where you go, done. You did it, check. Yeah. You're done davening, next. You did what you did next. Let's work on learning. It's not like that. Like, you're a perfect husband. It's just that every day you try again. Every day, you know what I'm saying?
You daven again. You daven again.
You bring, you keep on going, and when you fail, you just pick yourself up, you go again, and the ability to try, and it's not easy, and there's a lot of, you have to really get out there, but the ability for somebody to say, I'm not perfect, I'm not who maybe I should be, and I'm not who people think that I am, but it doesn't matter. I want to share something. I want to share something in my words, in my writing, in my chesed. You know, times I meet people that are like wonderful people that want to do something in chesed, and like they're discouraged because they look over to this big askin or this big rav and they say,
they're all the way there.
Yeah, look what they're doing. Such a big organization. Like, what am I going to do? Big achal? What am I going to do? Invite people over, set up a shidduch. Like, but
that's where it starts.
Exactly.
That's where it starts.
And people that do things that are big always start small. And if you look around to the biggest companies out there today, look around to the biggest moistus out there today, looking around to the biggest rabbanim.
Everybody starts somewhere.
They start small, they start where they are, and they start because they want to share. And they're willing to get out there and say, listen, I'm not perfect, but...
That's an amazing lesson. That's one of the main things you took out of the 6 hours with Rav Noach?
Yeah, there's a few. One of the things I took out of Noach is that he is so big on recognizing that the Jewish people are on fire.
Oh yeah.
Like
waking the
sleeping
giant. What was his line?
Yeah, waking the sleeping giant. Yeah. It's almost like a balance between we have so much potential and we're really in a tough spot. And it's hard to see it because we get used to what we see every day, but it's also hard to be able to balance between we're so great, which we really are. I'm so proud. I don't know, 5-6 times a week, I'll stop myself and just thank Hashem for making me a Yid. Like, just,
there's so much
nothing else. Just thank Hashem that I'm here. Like, I love everybody. I think everyone in the world is amazing and everyone's great and everyone's a tafkid and everyone's got a task. But, like, to think that, like, my great-grandfather's Avram Avinu, like, to think that, like, Hanukkah is like my yontif. Like to think that like I'm blown away by the pride that I'm part of this, and I'm so proud of so many people in our religion, in our nation, and what they do. I'm so proud of what's happening in America and people like CHAZAQ and other places that just build. I'm so proud of Eretz Yisrael. I'm so proud of so much.
There's so much to be proud of, but at the same time, there's so much more
There's
to do.
so much to do, and there's so much, and we as a people have to balance between. We are so proud of each other, and it is amazing, and it can't all be like we're not, but we still have where to go, and we still have to fix things, and we still have to be more inclusive, and we still have to figure out how to make Yiddishkeit more digestible, and we still have to figure out how to stop fighting and stop caring about what's on the outside, and we still have to, and Rav Noach was really big on that. Rav Noach really understood that we are the greatest nation in the world, but we're on fire.
Right.
And it's, when you're around great people, they sort of exude that balance of we can do it and we need to do it. So, I'm nowhere near Rav Noach's level. I'm a little tiny, maybe an ale on it. But I think it's important that if every day that sort of is our motivation, then even when we go to work, if there's a chance, like even when we go and do things, there's always a chance for us to bring ray of light. Every one of us, at every second of our lives, whether it's dealing with our children, or dealing with our employees, or running an event, either you're bringing light or you're bringing darkness.
It's either or.
It's either or. Always it's either or. When you're davening alone under a talis, either you're bringing or you're bringing darkness. When you're on a train, and it's tough. Yesterday I got on a train, and there was two ladies that were just right near a seat, and they were just looking for something, and they walked past the seat, and then I got up behind them, and I had an open seat, and I had to do something for a thing, and I needed to sit down to work on my laptop, and I got the seat, and as I get the seat, I look up, and I see the ladies are looking at something, and I'm like, but I was struggling, I was like, it's not like I'm tired, I need to really work, and if I miss this chance, I have half an hour, and I'm like, I've got a yarmulke on my head.
Ooh.
I've got a yarmulke, period, light or darkness. It's not like there's no gray. It's light or dark. And I'm like, listen, this is what you do. You're a Jew. You get up and you ask the ladies, do you want to see? And I should have a workout afterwards. And to me, that is, it's not maybe but it's the same thing as everything else in Yiddishkeit. So that means that every one of us, no matter who we are, where we are, whether we are at the top of the Jewish ladder and everyone sees us, or we're at the bottom of the Jewish ladder and no one knows we exist, it don't matter. Either we're lighting handles or we're extinguishing them.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. I was going to just ask you if you could leave us with one lesson. I think we got it. That's the lesson for every single one of us, that we have the power, we have the capability, we have the greatness, which you're always speaking about, greatness and success, to become great. And it starts with that first step.
Yeah, that's really the truth. And that people, I think, if you go around and you say, okay, what's the number one problem out there today?
I was going to ask you, what do you?
If you would say, okay, what's the number one problem out there today? And I would say the number one problem out there today is people do not appreciate who they are.
Ooh. And this is coming from a man that travels the world, that speaks and sees thousands of people, I could say, right?
Thank God.
They don't appreciate themselves.
Yeah. We are built with a tzura of God. People do not appreciate that they are built with the capacity of so much more than they think they have. God gave us an F-16 to play with. He's like, here guys, enjoy yourself, happy Hanukkah. Oh, you wanted the car? I'm sorry. For Hanukkah this year, you get an F-16. Yeah. Here's the cockpit. It goes Mach 5. You can do flips in the air. You can get to Israel in 30 seconds or less. It's yours. Enjoy yourself. And we're like, whoa, we got a beat up car? Thanks, God. It's amazing. And we're driving 25 miles on the highway, and then we're honking, and then we're upset that we're sitting in traffic. God's like, I'm sorry, that's not a car. That's why it goes 25 miles an hour. You gotta lift it off the ground. And and even I don't understand this entirely, but you speak to people, and they'll say things like, but I can't, and I can't, and you don't know me, and I can't, and I had this background going wrong, and this is happening in my life, and I'm struggling, and I'm this, and I'm that. And it's all surrounding that same nakuda of, if you understood who you were,
to value yourself,
you would say, I can't. It's hard. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I can. Right? The guy who gets in the F-16 and doesn't know how to fly a plane doesn't say it's a car.
Right.
He says, I know how to drive a car, so I can drive this F-16 around the Air Force, but I can fly. I don't know how to yet.
Right.
I may need a manual. I may need a lesson, but do I have the capacity to fly? Yeah.
You have it with you.
It's in my. I'm sitting in the cockpit. That is entirely different than I can't. If people got that, like if people just got that, that's it. Just that. You're in F-16. Like no more. Don't get it complicated. Don't go through the whole thing. Don't get up to like what to do yet. Just say, no matter what the world tells me, no matter what my mom or father, what my neighborhood or community, no matter how many Facebook friends I have, all that stuff, I am built from the stuff of the divine. Period. The Kodesh Baruch Hu infused him and me. So that's it. I'm an F-16.
F-16.
Now what do I do? Okay, now we can talk. There's a manual called the Torah. There's lessons from great people. There's people from all over. You can learn from everybody. But you now can go into, and that's why I feel a lot of people don't fully appreciate what we have, because they see it from a perspective of what they have to do for God. As opposed to, I have an F-16, and God's like, okay, here's the deal. I gave you an F-16, and now here's the manual. You know,
learn the manual.
And fly the car. And fly the plane, exactly.
Do anything you want. Get anywhere you want.
When you see Torah from a perspective of, what is he teaching me? Then Yosef HaTzadik is like, oh, that's it? And Avram's like, oh my God. And you look at Moshe's life and you go, what? And you start to go through, why does God care about how much stuff? And you start to put pieces together and go, wait a second, like, he's giving me a exercise regime on greatness. And when you see the Torah that way, then you are drawing lessons that's changing your life. Even if you don't fully get it every second. Because you don't have to get it every second, because as you grow in life. So when you're young, you're not, no 13-year-old kid's going to get davening. Like, but a 28 or 35, 4-year-old's going to get. No, listen, the hardest thing I tell people all the time, when you're 14, you're 15, Shabbos is like a jail sentence.
Right.
When you're 40, Shabbos is freedom.
Forget about 40. I'm still in my 20s. Yeah. I'm saying like Shabbos. I can't imagine anyone without Shabbos. The whole week I'm running around doing things with Shabbos.
So sometimes you have to put in your time when you're young and you don't get it. But when you see that, okay, here's what I got. I got an F-16. I got a manual. And not on top of that manual, I have a community of less people that. When you approach life and you go, this is my life. This is the manual. This is my community. My goal is just to learn how to fly. The game changes. The game changes.
Life changes. Everything changes. Everything. Wow.
You go from darkness to light.
It's beautiful.
And if people just got that, if we as a community just got that piece, I'm going to stop looking at the guy next to me and being threatened by his Judaism. I'm going to start being mad all the time. I'm going to start holding on to like my 4th grade Rebbe didn't say I was good enough, or God forbid worse. I'm going to stop the baggage, and then I can just live, I can grow, I can develop, I can be great, and I can start to realize how lucky I am. And I think that once we all get it together, I don't know, the game changes.
Mashiach.
We win.
Yeah, for sure.
It's game over.
Oh my gosh.
We all fly our planes.
Fly
to
Israel, yeah.
Hopefully.
Beautiful, Charlie. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Everything that you do for Klal Yisrael, the inspiration, keep it going. And of all the things we discussed in the interview, the one thing I'm going to take, I'm saying with everything we discuss, is that every single person, no matter who they are, whether they're the baker or they're the shoemaker or they're a lawyer, they have a light in them, and they could turn on that light and inspire, just like yourself.
Exactly. And if there's anything that I can say exactly is that you can be a nobody, so to speak. I mean, there's no nobodies, because like I said, everyone has an F-16, but there really is no reason to wait. There's no waiting. There's no I'm not
like
good enough.
Weinberg said.
Yeah, there's no I'm not good enough. That's all an excuse. and not everyone's going to accept you, and not everyone's going to say like, you know, that you're well, and that's fine. You just, if you want,
it's like Mordechai, most of his
exactly, and the truth is that Klal Yisrael's open and they're welcoming and they're wonderful, and our job is not to figure out who we're not and where we shouldn't go. Our job is to be able to say who we are. And, you know, I get requests, people say to me, like, how do you start? How do you start? And the answer is, you start. You know, how do you start? You go and, you know, speak to your children, and then you go and you speak to, you know, you give a shir in shul, or you go and you help one person, or you volunteer. It doesn't matter what you do. You see, only in our world is there like a list of like, well, if you do this is really chashuv, and if you do this, it's less chashuv, and if you have this job, then you have this job,
and
you have this job, all right, and if you're this person in the community, that's our perception. God's perception. The Ramchal says this in Derech Hashem. There's a melucha, and God's the king, and he's got to keep the kingdom moving. So he takes the world and goes, here's the deal. I got all this stuff to do, and I got all these people. I'm going to divide and give tasks. If we care about the king, whatever we want to give, whatever the thing you love doing, or that you want to do, or that you're good at, or that you're doing now, you give it to the king, you do a little more of it, you're doing your job.
That's your job.
It doesn't matter what side you're on.
God delegated that specific job for you.
You have kochos for your reason. And it doesn't matter. No one's kochos is better than someone else's kochos. It doesn't work that way. Everyone has their thing, and if you elevate your thing, you are doing your task in the kingdom. And if we just did that and just started, you don't wait for anything. You don't wait for anybody. You don't wait for a pat. Listen, if you're going to be paskening shilas, you got to get smincha. But if you're just going to be sharing and giving, what are you waiting for? And if we just all started doing,
oh wow, I could just imagine.
It's a show.
Thank you very much,
It's an honor to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, great.
Thank you.